about myself. I learned a lot of things about addiction that I didn't know. And another thing that happened while I was in the rehab, my case manager on our second visit said, I'm going to make you an appointment. I want you to go to this mental health center. And I went there, and they diagnosed me as bipolar. To me, that was a wonderful awakening, because to me that said, well, I'm not just a screw up. I'm not just...
No, you were self-medicating.
Right. And if this is an illness and there are symptoms, surely there's a way to deal with this. And I learned how to deal with my bipolar. And now I pay attention to my recovery in both my mental health and my substance abuse.
When we come back, I want to get more to the fact that many of the people that are going to prison, it's really the way that they finally get to treatment. You know, we'll be right back.
What is the cost of drug and alcohol addiction?
I lost my job.
I lost my home.
I lost my health.
I lost my self-respect.
I lost my freedom.
If you have a drug or alcohol problem, remember, treatment is effective and recovery is possible. For information on drug and alcohol treatment referral for you or someone you know, call 1-800-662-HELP and see what you could save.
I got my life back.
People trapped by drug or alcohol addiction often feel like there's no hope, no way out. But for every lock, there's a key. And if you have a problem, it's good to know there are real solutions to help you get free. For drug or alcohol treatment referral for you or someone you know, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Well, a recovery-oriented system of care notion is a notion that in order to benefit the individual, that individual's family, and the community in which that individual operates, multiple resources are brought to bear. A person who is, say, returning from prison or jail still needs multiple resources. But the key issue then becomes one of the key variables is the probation officer or parole officer plays a major role. But that person by himself or herself cannot do everything that needs to be done. And so if a person needs housing, it's important for the probation officer or parole officer to be aware of that. Person needs to be linked up with childcare or with education or employment or health or mental health. It's important for the probation officer or parole officer to be linked up with that.
I really have a passion for this work. I love it so much because of the fact that I myself went to prison and had to re-enter society, and I didn't have a prison re-entry team to help me. I was blessed in the fact that my parole officer took a major part in what I did once I got out. But the things that I'm able to help people accomplish are just amazing to me, you know, and the gratitude in their face when they've gone through this program and their lives are truly their own now.
I love it when I go to a prison and I sit down with an inmate and I talk to them about reentry into our program after they're getting close to being discharged from their prison, and that we have a place for them to come to, and to see that little spark of life in their eyes, that to know that they suddenly realize that maybe, just maybe, I don't have to do this again. I can't tell you what that's like. And to be able to carry that to them in some humble way is wonderful.
So we were talking about Franny's experience, and now basically what comes to light is that in many instances, right, Pam, the people that are presenting in the prisons, it's the first time that they're really engaged with a treatment program.
I think that's true for probably about 30% of the people who end up in prison-based treatment. And prison is a great time, literally, you have a captive audience to work with, and you can dedicate a long period of time to working with folks, whereas sometimes in the community you don't have as much opportunity to keep people in treatment as long. But the other thing that has been happening for years is that treatment has been used as a part of alternatives to incarceration and a part of probation sentencing, and all of those criminal justice points of intervention are very important if you're going to try to break the cycle that we've been talking about.
Faye, talk a little bit about drug courts.
Drug courts are wonderful, very progressive, probably the most progressive intervention and innovation in our systems since the 1990s. Because they're a total integration of services between the judge, the prosecutor, the defense, the client, the treatment counselor, and the probation or parole system, because there's some new reentry courts out. So you have a mechanism where people recognize...
So there's a whole team of people really addressing
and they
the
all
problem.
understand that recovery is a process. Recovery is not something that happens because one day the light bulb goes on and you're going to stop drinking or using drugs. People don't change like that, but the criminal justice system has these unbelievable expectations that would occur. But in the drug treatment court model, there's a recognition that care is needed. It's needed over a longer lens. Most drug treatment courts are at least 12 months. Most substance abuse treatment programs in this country are under 90 days. So, you want to give someone a chance? You can't give them a chance in 90 days. You can give them a chance in a year. And so, we have good studies that show the efficacy of drug treatment courts, but that's the model that we need to replicate throughout, besides some of these, multiple levels of care that Franny experienced.
Melvin, what is it, an issue of cost?
Well, I think I want to expand upon what's been said already. For the last 9 years, I ran a facility, a drug treatment campus, and we ran it like a shock facility where we kept clients, parolees there for 90 days. Then they went inpatient for 6 months, then extensive parole for 6 months. That model works. But we've also taught our people how to play the criminal justice game. The people I talked to, the people who are incarcerated at my last facility, the vast majority have been through a number of programs, none of which were connected to each other. But every time they got in trouble, they would plead they needed treatment, and they would sign up for a new type of treatment program and have no expectations of finish, only to beat out from the criminal justice system. If there was, in fact, was a connection between all of us, whether it be the Department of Corrections, Social Services, Health, everyone, there'd be a coordination of efforts. But as it stands now in most states that I'm aware of, no one's connected. Only now, when you have systems that are connected where the person is treated throughout, you have some chance of success. It's like you said, there's no light bulb that goes on that says, okay, I'm better now.
But there are judges, Pam. There are judges that basically, because of the coordination of services, they know how many opportunities people have been given to really become fully invested in their recovery and reintegrate themselves into society. And they do take some action, correct?
Absolutely. One of the things that I'm always an advocate for and a fan of judges in this process. My experience is that judges, sheriff's departments, correctional officers see the failure of what has been done in the past, and they're very much willing to try new things. And I'm really supportive of the leadership that judges bring to the table. At the same time, working with offenders who are abusing drugs and alcohol, consequences are important, sanctions are important, accountability is important. So all of those things come into play, and there are consequences for people who fail. At the same time, I think it's interesting that I've heard people talk about the systems working better together. And a lot of times we have blamed the individuals who are going through these programs for the failures, when in fact the failures are often of the partners who actually don't partner, who don't work together. And so drug court teams, reentry teams, interdisciplinary treatment teams, all of those are